Welcome back, everyone, to this session. What a great afternoon it's been, full of plenty of sessions. And we finally arrived now for our last, but definitely not least session of the event. And for this session, we'll continue on with the final panel discussion of the day. This panel will be on cloud data architecture, what you need to know in 2022 and beyond. And it will be moderated by Mr. Atira Janyaharn, who is the Director of Data for Buku Warong. So just a brief on Atira. So he has been spending his entire career, which comprises of 15 plus years alongside his teams to extract values out of data in various formats. So for example, deep dive, self-service platforms, predictive models, deep learning AI models, and across various industries, mainly in the financial services, insurance, media, and entertainment. So he did used to look after data and data science team at MX Player in India, overview of Indonesia, Alliance Public Media, and Mindshare Media based in Singapore. And we're glad to have him here as a panel moderator today. So he'll be introducing the three other panelists who will be joining us here today. And of course, should you have any questions for any of the panelists, do feel free to drop the questions in the chat box and they'll be able to take on them. So I'll hand this over to you, Ati, as you help us introduce the rest of the panelists and move forth with the discussion.
Right, thanks, Pete. Good afternoon, everyone. And yeah, I feel very privileged to be invited by Pete to moderate this session. And like Pete said, like the last one, but not least. So hope you guys are still full of energy, right, to stay with four of us. So yeah, my name is Atirat. In short, people call me Ati, and I've been working in data science, data analytics field. That was my main arena, right? And that's how I get to have more experience with other data topics, right? Which right now I'm at a fintech startup called Bukoro, based out of Indonesia, where we are focusing on fintech solutions for our merchants, right? And we are still a young company, so I'm pretty sure that stuff that we are talking today, right, are going to be related to fintech as well as corporates. So let me introduce our panelists, right? Nikhil, Bernard, and Andy, right, for a quick introductions. So perhaps start with Nikhil, please.
Hey, thanks, Pete and Ati. Hello, everyone. Thanks for dialing in. My name is Nikhil. I am working as a senior data architect in one of the bank in Singapore. As for my career, I have 15 years of experience in technology, with 10 plus years of experience in big data itself. Yeah, today's session, I am very excited for today's session. I think I will move to the next one, which is Bernard. Bernard, over to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bernard. So my day job is a director of internal audit in a Singapore bank. That's where I take care of IT audits and also data analytics capability within the audit department. On a voluntary basis, right, I do volunteer with SECA Singapore chapter as a membership director. Yeah. Next to Andy. Yeah.
Hey, hi. Thanks, Bernard. I'm Andy. I'm based in Singapore. I just stepped down from crypto exchange. I was the chairman of Big One Exchange, top 30 in the world. Apart from that, I do a lot of governmental advisory. So I'm the chief digital advisor to Mongolia, and a very active investor in the blockchain, crypto, and Web3 space. Good to meet everybody.
Thanks, Andy, Bernard, and Nikhil. So yeah, to today's topic, right? What is cloud and data architecture that we should look for in 2022, right? Which I think I prepared a couple of questions, right, alongside with panelists. But what I want to start and set the firm stage is, I think in the past 5 to 6 years, right, we've seen a huge flow and waves of cloud adoption in Asia Pacific, right? Whereby big and small companies, right, have starting to ask questions around what is the benefit of cloud, right, and start to test it, adopting it slowly, right, but steadily, right. and 6 years has passed by, right? I want to bring in three numbers, right, that we've been seeing in the market. So the first two number, right, are from Gartner. The first number, right, is the revenue, right, from the traditional versus the cloud front in terms of technology, right? This should reflect well in terms of how cloud has been progressing, right? And what we've seen is by 2025, right, that is going to be the first year globally that cloud revenue is going to topple off traditional systems, warehouses, infrastructure, security, and so on, right? So, and the trend has been ongoing, right? That's number one. Number two, right, in terms of growth in revenue from cloud and traditional providers, right, cloud has always been on the upfront, right, high growth. But when we look at traditional, right, since 2021, end of 2021, right, this will be the first year that traditional growth in revenue will be stagnant and ongoingly. Right. So what we can confirm is cloud is coming in, adoption is high, it's going to be the norm, or it has already been the norm by default. Right. The last number I want to bring in quickly is so those that have started using cloud, right? What do they see in terms of efficiency? Do they find it useful? Do they find it more efficient? Right. And from the total respondents, we found that 68% right has been finding it efficient, and of course the number will be more as the cloud space has been expanding. Right. So I think as where we are today, we are very clear that cloud is the way to go. Now, the next question is, how do we go into the next stage? How do we optimize them, right? What else to look out for, right? And typically, when we talk about cloud, I think infra will always come first. So my first question, right, is to Nikhil, right, our senior data architect. What do you see as a next step in 2022 moving forward around infrastructure? What is going to come up and what we should look out for?
So thanks, Andy. This is a very excellent question. And it's year 2022, and we are seeing a lot of cloud adoption as of today as well from different organizations, including financial services. Right. I think what personally I think is beneficial as of today is multi-hybrid cloud architecture, where instead of getting onboarded to a single cloud vendor, as of today we know there are a lot of cloud providers. I think it will be beneficial for all organizations to opt for a strategy which includes multi or hybrid cloud, right? As of today, we have so many clouds. If we go for multi-hybrid cloud architecture, the most important benefit is first is every cloud has their own specialty in the services or tooling they provide, right? So it's more of ability to find the best in class multi-cloud providers. Second is competitive pricing. As soon as we move towards the cloud, as soon as we move towards anywhere of the cloud, right? If we have multiple options, obviously, as an organization, we get benefited out in terms of pricing. Third, I would say is agility. Agility in terms of if we have services available, and if we have onboarded to one of the cloud, and that unfortunately that cloud provider doesn't have services that you as an organization need, you can always opt for another cloud vendor where the services are available. So which is one of the most benefit of opting for a hybrid cloud strategy. We can bolster our resilience, efficiency of our infrastructure by opting for multiple cloud. As example, if we are using a containerization services from one of the cloud vendor and AI/ML services from another cloud vendor, I think it is always beneficial to opt for the best in the market. Right? Another part we get, which is a normal cloud perspective, which is flexibility and scalability, which most of the organization or all of the organization are looking for as of today. Security is definitely one of the most important aspects as of today. If our solutions have the robust security, obviously our end customers consuming those services will be happy with the security in the market. And we already know there are a lot of compliance requirements or regulatory requirements from different regulatories, right? So if we have a compliance and security in place, that is definitely one of the most benefit part. This way we can actually cater for the risk management because if we are moving our data to the public cloud, obviously we have to cater for data security. So here it comes risk management. I think these are the kind of benefits we opt if we opt for a multi-cloud hybrid strategy.
Right. Thanks, Nikhil. What about Bernard and Andy? What is your thoughts on multi-cloud benefits or risk, right? Or any advice do you see that a company where they start moving up into cloud, right? What can they look out for? What could they be watching out before moving into these solutions?
I think for a company, especially in FIs, right, to move into clouds, the most important thing, of course, the infrastructure and architecture. But on the other hand, right, banks, financial institutions, they are very protective of their customer informations. These are the informations that is proprietary to the bank, and the consequences of any data leakage is may lead to reputational risk or penalties by the regulator, maybe Singapore or in other countries. So the challenges of moving into cloud, right, on the flip side, when what Nikhil say, right, is what data are you going to be storing in the cloud or being processed in the cloud, and how long are you going to store the data in the clouds? Are they customer informations? Are they informations or data that is public, that is non-confidential? So data classifications needs to be carried out by the banks or the financial institutions, and the banks or financial institutions needs to know exactly what data, confidential, non-confidential data, are going to be stored or processed in the cloud. So this is quite a challenge for financial institutions, because we keep a lot of data, and traditionally, right, data are kept by different functions, different products, and and no one in the whole organization, right, FIs, know what data they have. So they are very careful in terms of this, and this is one of the challenges why financial institutions are being slow in adopting cloud technology. Yeah, this is what I
Well,
can see. Yeah.
this is a good point, man. Bernard, I just want to share. The other day, I was in this cloud, another event, Cloud Asia. We were talking about, of course, cloud storages, the pro and cons and so forth. We also touch on the fact that there are companies who are a little bit further down the road. They are already looking at things like decentralized storage. They are looking at peer-to-peer technology. Of course, there's a different school of thoughts. People will say that, oh, there's a lot of security issues. There's this, there's that. But I think for any new adoption, there's always a flip side to it. When I look at decentralized storage, right now it's just like, everyone else, like including myself, who were looking at cloud 6 years ago, right? But right now, if you talk about just purely on cloud, I think there are a few points that I want to share. One is, I think cost optimization will continue to drive the cloud adoption. Regardless of maybe putting aside security, that's a must. I think the cost optimization is one of the key driver. And then another thing that I also noted was this multi-cloud will kick in and will reduce the vendor lock-in. So that kind of a strategy will, of course, it will reduce the dependency on third-party organization. And again, there's a pro and a con side to this strategy. And then last but not least, going back to what I've mentioned a little bit, would be a distributed cloud will continue to support and expand services availability, and that will also touch on a fair bit on what I've mentioned about decentralization, and how decentralization with the blockchain technology could help with some of the security issues that Bernard has mentioned as well. So I think right now is a good time, to really look at the key technology. Happy to share, if there's a platform to do that, man. Thanks.
Yeah, I do agree with Andy. Yeah, because data security, right? No matter if you're on-prem, you're using vendors, you're using clouds, the data security needs to be there, and these are fundamental of data security. So may it be cloud or non-cloud, this is no way you can actually escape from protecting your customer data or confidential data.
Yeah, agree with you, Bernard.
Right. Thanks, Bernard and Andy. So, as you mentioned, the cost optimization, right? Cost efficiency will drive further on the adoption, right? So maybe I want to pass the question back to Nikhil, right? From the architectural point of view, right? Do you see any other components within cloud that we should start considering, like any other technology on top that could improve this, right? Now everyone is picking up cloud, going out to multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, or just single cloud. What technology should we consider?
That's pretty valid question, because when we say cloud, we are actually talking about humongous services available by multiple cloud providers. So I think from the architecture perspective, containerization is one of the aspects which can actually help us designing, architecting, and doing a proper solutioning in terms of, as I think Andy mentioned, and Bernard also mentioned about the cost efficiency of going to cloud. So if I was definitely containerization is one of the aspects where we can actually achieve a single layer of security as well as the agility to move to cloud, right? So again, for a hybrid multi-cloud architecture, the first thing comes to my mind is how portable is our solution, right? How portable is our application which we are planning to, or how portable our use cases are, which we are planning to deploy to multiple hybrid cloud, right? So if we containerize the application, because when you containerize your application, you actually make sure, or it is platform agnostic. So if I deploy on cloud A, cloud B, or cloud C, it actually doesn't matter much for me, right? So what is the one thing that I actually achieve as a part of architecture, which is portability. Agility is another part, because as of today, if I go to cloud, I don't have to worry about procuring the infrastructure, which usually happen when we are actually working on premise, right? So as a developer, maybe I have to wait for a couple of days to understand when I can get my infrastructure ready, right? So with a quick experimentation, quick POCs, actually cloud actually gives us that platform where we can actually achieve the agility and efficiency from that aspect. Same thing, it can actually further enhance the growth or faster delivery aspect of it as well, where, because we are living in a world which is so-called agile as of today, right? And agility is one of the aspects to bring the organization to a next level, right? So I would say portability, efficiency, agility is definitely one of the aspects, right? Easier management, because we are living in a multi-hybrid cloud world. So if I want to manage my application deployments, I can actually manage from one front without worrying about whether it is going to a cloud A, cloud B, or cloud C. So definitely the flexibility is definitely one of the aspects as
well. Right. Yep. Thanks, Nikhil. Yep. Anyone wants to add on the technology part of it?
Yeah, but I think from an internal audit point of view, right, the cloud technology and what Nikhil mentioned about containers, right, is very, very new to internal audits, and it's also difficult for us as internal auditors to audit such a technology. So it's there's a lot of I think that there needs to be a lot of communication and awareness between the internal audit departments and the technology folks, because what they are doing is very fast paced. You're building containers, you're building microservices day in, day out. And internal audit, we are the third line. We are the last who to know what actually happens. So without knowing what's going on with the technology folks, when we come in like every year, every 2 years to audit the technology folks, right? We will get lost, and the technology folks will get very frustrated because the technology changes, and internal audit, we still look at what we did in the past, which is outdated. So there's a lot of communications and understanding, awareness needs to be built, and of course the relationship between internal audits and infrastructure as technology folks, right, is very important. Yeah.
Okay,
And
I want to add on maybe
yes.
just from a more productivity and efficiency point of view, I think we should look at things like democratize advanced technology. This will allow your employees, for example, to work effectively, efficiently within their current knowledge. And with this innovative technology, of course, there's a learning curve that the developers need to go through to make the most out of this technology. But if you allow the maybe cloud provider to do the work to learn and build the innovative technology on top of it, this leaves the developer, able to do their best, and produce the best. I think from an efficiency point of view, I think that would be good. Nikhil also mentioned about this, sharing of workload and how you deploy the workload, for the servers. If you are going to go global in minutes, so deploying your workload into different regions and so forth become very important. We want to avoid latency issues. We want better performance, and then all these things add up to how people will want to adopt infrastructure like that. But then I look at what Bernard has mentioned about internal audit and their take on technology. I think it's a very different side of things that we are looking at. We as in, from my standpoint, from working on the decentralized and distributed platforms and so forth, we also have internal audit who come and tell us, how are we going to audit this thing, man? Everybody holds a certain data. How are you going to audit this? But my simple answer to them is actually a lot of this data are already on chain. Like what the cloud guys is going to say is all on premises. But this on premises outcome is everybody is holding on to a certain part of the data. So when auditor comes in and say, what if they change the data, on their side? I said that's not possible, because if you need to change a few thousand or maybe a few 100,000 data sets in order to achieve what you want, and that's too much to do. So I still think that we should take step by step. We just take what the technology can bring us, and then if we can follow the technology and put our value add onto this technology, whether it's going to be cloud or whatever kind of storage in future, all we need to do is we just apply our our general knowledge. If you are audit, you audit what you're supposed to audit, then they will not give you a headache, because my experience is the auditor, or maybe even the finance people and the technology guys, they all can't talk the same lingo, man. So I think that is a problem, but I think it's a problem that we can solve. Yeah.
Thanks, Andy, for this great input. And yeah,
Sure.
I think you mentioned about the democratization. Let me pick it up and hold it for the next few topics. Yeah. So
Sure.
the other part I still want to cover in the infra side of things, right? Andy, you mentioned about blockchain, right? So I think blockchain is still, I would say, less widely adopted, right, as compared to typical cloud, even hybrid multi-cloud, right? So what do you see as an opportunity moving forward when we talk about applying or implementing blockchain into the infra in the cloud?
Wow. I think every component got to work together, right? So if it's just, a lot of these blockchain solutions, they are also hosted on cloud. Certain part of their data sets are on cloud. Certain part, of course, some people will claim that it's decentralized, right? So, but I think the point is this, I think I look at more of the technology and what it can do, more than how fast can it be adopted. Because if you imagine today, people are still talking about cloud and they say they don't know about cloud. Then if you talk about another thing about decentralized storage and so forth, they will swear at you, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I think that the key thing is this. I always use this as an example. Let's say you build a fully automated platform, fully automated, like Industry 4.0, with high-tech machinery and so forth. Certain set of this data are definitely stored on centralized storage. And then some part of it are also stored on decentralized storage. It really depends on the kind of data sets that you are trying to hold. What I'm trying to say is, you know, all the sensitive and sensitive part, the those that need more security and some needs more verification, that can be done by the blockchain technology. So that layer itself will add onto the whole system of automation, right? So in the past, automation is just automation, right? So now you have another added layer where you can do verification. You can store some really sensitive data onto the chain, and it can be locked there forever. No single supervisor, on site can change anything. So I think the usage of it will match very well with the existing infrastructure. It can also be an additional layer onto IoT devices, for example. Again, it just how you're going to store your data. I think that is how a blockchain can come in to help in terms of security, in terms of traceability, in terms of working together with existing platform to provide an additional security layer. So we had talks with folks from MIT, for example. They say, hey, we don't need blockchain. They say, I think you don't need to, man. But the point is, if you have it, you have additional layer for you to crack, additional layer of things for you to manage. And last but not least, I want to mention this. I think Nikhil also mentioned something along this line. I think whenever we have any form of human interaction or human intervention, there's always a certain element of fraud, or redundancy, or some additional things to mess things up. So with the blockchain technology and with a certain level of automation, the variables that are there can actually help you to make a better decision, and help you to reduce the error or reduce the number of fraud that potentially can come out from the system. So I think that's the role, man. I don't want to speak too much, but I think that says a lot, man.
Yeah.
The chain technology, right? As compared to 5 years, 6 years ago, has matured, and the industry has actually understand more about the technology, the usage, and what benefits it can bring. So my take is even FIs now are using chain for trade finance, for payments. So it proves that the technology works, but ultimately, of course, when you talk about financial crimes, right? Even structured products like finance or payments, it can have criminal criminal bad guys trying to fight or game the products, but with the understanding of chain, and as compared to 5 years now, even government and financial institutions in Singapore, right, we are adopting this technology. Yeah. So it tells how much the trust and also the foreseeable futures chain is going to be part of the life cycle of financial products.
Thanks,
No,
man.
I
I want to
do
add
agree with
quickly.
Andy.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add something. Sorry, I think it just helped to reduce the point of weaknesses, right? So that's the reason why banks are looking at it from a different point of view, as compared to when I first started in 2017, 1617. They look at me as if I'm talking rubbish, And then when I started to switch from being an entrepreneur to a advisor to government, the government also look at me in a very alien manner, But right now, Bernard, you're right, man. They are all more receptive. Sorry, Nikhil. Sorry.
No, I was just putting to the point that blockchain as a technology itself, I think it's amazing. It just, you also mentioned Andy, and even Eti also mentioned the same thing. It will take some time for people to adopt that new technology, because that's a kind of evolution cycle we have even seen before as well. When public cloud came in picture, people were so not receptive of it. And definitely now we are actually talking about public cloud deployments and how public cloud can be beneficial. And the same thing goes for blockchain technology as well, because I can think of multiple use cases for cloud itself where it will be very much beneficial, especially for FIs. I'm not talking about the other organizations which are already ready to go to blockchain, but especially for FIs, I think it will be, there are a lot of use cases in terms of when the multiple bank collaborate together. The blockchain is a kind of decentralized platform for them to collaborate together and reduce a lot of toil-like tasks that happens at daily basis, right? So I think yeah, from that aspect, blockchain is definitely something we are looking forward for maybe in a year or two.
Sounds like the evolution is coming soon with help of cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, yeah, containerization. Cool. Yep. Very fruitful and interesting points. Bernard, you want to add something?
No.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. Cool. So we've crossed 30 minutes. So what I want to bring us to the next topic, right, is on analytics or the usage side of it. Right. We talk about cloud. There's been some usage. People already start using certain tools in place, right? Maybe in the cloud itself by the provider. Some may still pull the data out, right? Extract, do it on their laptops, but that's fine, right? We start to see more insights in a lesser time, right? We gain some efficiency, we gain some cost optimization, right? What else do you see that with changes on multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, containerization, those efficiency that we can improve in infra, how would it change or move analytics or insights layer forward, right? Faster or better quality of insights? Anyone want to pick this up?
No one's going to say I can add on. I think for cloud analytics, it's often very much associated with AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. So I think these are some of the maybe some of the keywords that we often look at it, and it's also very commonly used in the industry. We can see applications on scientific researchers, genomics, all the way to oil and gas, and into e-commerce as well. So this kind of data analytics helps to improve the organization performance and also try to drive a new set of value, from this. So maybe I'd say a little bit more. Yeah? So by leveraging on AI and some other analytics approaches, organizations of all sizes can come in quickly to make data-driven decisions to gain efficiencies in their products and in their services. Right? The cloud is a dispensable, I think, platform that enable quick experimentation of ideas through proofs. Through proof of concepts to provide a very good learning and training model. So machine learning will then kick in, artificial intelligence will kick in. Now I think the example is this. In the past, when we look at big data alone, right? Some or some, when you dissect the data, you might not get the right kind of demographics that you want, or right kind of things that you want. I give real example. My friend is a long-time customer of a very big salon chain in Singapore, and then as time goes by, he dropped most of his hair. Yeah, so there's no need to go there, and they know about it, because he's going through the hair treatment and things like that. But because of this non-analytical data, they just send out mailers anyhow. He actually invited him to give him like a haircut voucher, for my friend. So my friend become very upset, but again, all these very small analytics can actually be reproduced and put onto the system to allow people to have better driven results. It's just like he's a customer. For example, his hair is dropping, you should push some hair loss products and things like that, right? So I think I think industrial like this, they should really start to look at things on a different level. They may not adopt AI, for example, but they also may not have some really, kick-ass machine learning backend. But this kind of variable and this kind of straightforward analytics should be there, right? And then that is a more manual example, But if you look at AI again, AI is increasingly being used in multiple industry verticals to support important business needs. And again, like I mentioned, in terms of automation, businesses provide cognitive insights through data analysis, interacting with customer, with a natural language of processing, all these things got to be there. Well, like the DL, for example, will be the next level of ML, which is machine learning.
Yep.
It will become more effective at learning from huge volume of data, to mimic the human brain. All these things will add together, and again, everything is just, to me, it's just part of the cloud analytics, right? And this kind of infrastructure is a must, for new companies and good companies that are trying to drive their business to the next level. Yeah, thanks.
Right. So trying to get down to a deeper detail and capture and improve experience of users, and relevance to adoption of product or services.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yep. So I think with the moving of clouds, your applications, right?
Mhm.
There's sort of a lot of data, even with
Mhm.
software as a service, right? You have applications, they give you data, they give you reports. Eventually, right? How you use the report, like Andy say, right? You are balling, but they give you a haircut voucher. These are all of course there's certain kind of learning, but at this moment, right? I see that the data is or the data analysis, right? Or those data scientists are overwhelmed with the data, or even for the likes of let's say banks, right? The let's say data analytics person or the front office running marketing, right? They are overwhelmed with the data. How do I use the data? In what forms should I dissect the data? They are overwhelmed, and these are how can we resolve it is to more to train the staff, train the employees, train the person who actually analyze the data. What is our objective, and what how do we actually go on a bite size rather than bite a big chunk of the data and do not know what is the end result. If, for example, if you are targeting, let's say, customers who are, let's say, between 20 to 35, with let's say credit card, or annual salary of, let's say, 200,000, this start building small use case with the data, then increase the complexity as you get more familiar with the data sets you have on hand. So a lot of companies, SMEs, a big organization, they start with a big bang with data. They want to jump on the bandwagon of big data, doing AL, ML, DL. Yeah, but eventually they do not understand what data sets they have, and what are their use cases. Eventually, it's just a white elephant, a big data warehouse that nobody use, and fall back to, let's say, reports that are churned out by the applications, and do manual crunching. Yeah. So just
Great
to
input.
reiterate, right? The people who actually use the data needs to be trained, and always start small in an agile phase.
Right. Great input, Bernard. Yep. Totally agree from the people who manage those projects standpoint. So, yep. Uh, the other question around analytics, right, is, and this is where I want to start marrying, Andy, to what you mentioned about blockchain, right? And you run crypto before. Uh, what are the use case around crypto space, right, or blockchain, that we could start using this predictive analytics, right, on cloud?
I think there are many different ways to put analytics onto blockchain and crypto businesses. I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
You know, it's not rocket science, right? So
Mhm.
I used to be a part of the exchange, you know, part of a crypto
Mhm.
exchange.
Mhm.
So I know that you know, the bigger exchanges in the world right now, they are coping with a lot of customer service problems, right? They hire mankind, but they just couldn't manage the kind of crazy questions that the retail investors are putting to them, right? So
Right.
if there's a way to really look at how to reduce the workload of the frontliners, I think analytics can play a very big part, right? You know, not just those chatbots or those these Q&As and things like that. I think many people are very reluctant to read those. But if you have a way to learn about your customer, how they put in the clicks, you know, how they put in their trades, you know, how what kind of questions they are usually going to ask and things like that, you can float those questions to them, you know, instead of floating what to buy, you know, oh, you got to buy BTC today, you know, instead of floating those to them, you should float things that you learn from their behavior, you know, and then use the analytics to help them understand what they should do next when they meet a problem, for example, you know. You give the analytics to them, maybe US dollar drop 5%. It's just no fun, just example, yeah, drop 5%. You know, this kind of information they might not know, right?
Yeah.
You know, they might not get the first hand information, and you know that he's always using US dollar to make the purchase. So things like that should actually kick in and help them to make a more informed decision. And from there, you reduce the workload of all your front guys, and then it's going to be a win-win for everybody. And the analytics, it should not only be looking at from the exchange standpoint, from the exchange owner standpoint. You should also allow the customer to make use of the analytics, you know, for themselves. You know, it could be, you know, I know in some of these traditional trading platforms and so forth, you know, they have such a function where they aggregate everybody's maybe trading nature and so forth, you know, not much like a copy trading, but you know, they analyze and tell people, oh, so many people think that, you know, you should buy this, you know, so many people think that they you know, this is going to break down, you know, like something like that. You know, I don't
Yeah.
want to go into details, but I think those are also part of analytics where I think uh, it can be better used in crypto exchanges as compared to banks, because banks are very much, you know, very much regulated, very regulated. A lot of these things they
Mhm.
can't say, you know. But then in the crypto space where it is not superly regulated in that sense, you know, they should try to find a way to make this into a good use case, right, for the exchanges. I think this is one of the many use cases that I can think of. You know, other than that, of course, you can use it on this payments as well. You know, so
Right.
there's a lot of things that can be done, man.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with Andy. Andy has mentioned about behavioral analytics and then trend analytics as well. So if these exchanges start looking at the behavior or the pattern of their own investors or end customers and actually project the analytics which is more helpful for them instead of sending the trend setters, as you mentioned, which happens generally in the stock market as of today, right? So I think there are a lot of analytics. If you try to convert the behavioral analytics, compare it with market and make it more prescriptive in nature, I think it will be helpful for the end users. And there should be analytics being used for blockchain market or crypto market as well, where they get information on what is happening in the market compared to what they do, what is their risk appetite, and they should predict, okay, what is that? If the risk appetite is this, people can actually do in 6 months, in 3 years, or those trained analytics over the years, so that people can view and take risk accordingly. Because there's definitely a risk in all these markets, but if people understand the
Right.
risk and if people understand the pattern of the investments, I think those kind of analytics would be very much beneficial. And blockchain is one of the best thing to have those kind of analytics in place.
Totally
Thanks
agree.
thanks Andy and then Nikhil for the input. So what I want to move next, right, which is the last topic, is to pick up on the democratization. So Andy, you mentioned about democratization, right, which perhaps it could be things around self-service, opening up for users to use, right? So my first question is, who should be the user in scope for these democratization, right? For the whole stack of, be it infra, be it insights, user level.
I think data democratization
Mhm,
is an ongoing process,
mhm,
and it should enable everybody in the organization,
mhm,
irrespectively whether they are a technical staff or they are not a technical staff.
mhm,
They should be able to work with the data in the most comfortable manner,
mhm,
feel confident talking about it, and as a
mhm.
result, make data informed decision to build customer experiences, using the data. So I think if you look at it from again the crypto exchange example, I think it works both ways.
Yeah,
Not only for the internal organization, it also helps to empower the external customer, right? This is how I look at it. Yeah.
thanks, Andy. Yep. Anyone else wanna set the scope of democratization?
Yeah, I think data democratization, right?
Mhm,
Is an upcoming trend now. Yeah, because
mhm,
with the distributed data that's floating around made on all the
mhm,
applications that a company has, right? Yeah, it is not feasible anymore to for 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 someone to hold the data. Yeah, you need to distribute it to the information across all the departments or the users. So it is an upcoming trend. There is not a uh, how should I say? There's no proper guidelines or guidance from industry or from regulators. So this is a space to watch at this moment. Yeah.
mhm. Got it.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
absolutely
Bernard.
agree, Bernard and Andy. Data democratization should be something which is more of a self-service analytics where all the end users of any organization, right, they should be able to access the data in a way they are supposed to. Basically, if they are authorized to see the data, they should be immediately able to see the data, right? Because the novel challenge I understand from the industry also, and what I have seen from my experience, data acquisition is something which can happen pretty fast with the technology available, but we always end up in getting approvals for data access for the end users.
Yeah.
So I think the platform should be good enough for the end users. As soon as the data is available to consume, it should end users should be able to consume the data with that, irrespective of uh, because if they are still waiting for approvals, the data is already, because data has a shelf life, right? So if the data, by the time the shelf life of data is expired, if I get the access to the data, it is of no use to me. So data democratization is something which gives us that authority or ability actually to expose the data to wider audience.
Thanks, Bernard. Thank you. Then if we are going to start in this field, right, and then things are still not clear, right? I guess from the architecture standpoint, right, specifically data architecture, right? Uh, there could be a bit of gap as well because how we prepare the data for particular users in the past, right? Now the user has changed, like the list of users has changed. You mentioned things like data access, right, which is from new users start accessing. Nikhil, do you see the any components, right, in the data architecture should be reflective, right, to change to cater the new kind of usage model?
Absolutely, absolutely. Data security and privacy is something which actually give leverage for us to open the data for the wider audience. So if we think the data is secured in the storage layer itself, or the data is secured enough, and it can be exposed to the end users. So if say I have a different variety of users, we have data science, data analytics, or business users, or because we know, right, there are local regulations. If we have a regional data, maybe people are only allowed to view a particular country of data, right? So if we have a proper data security in place with data privacy governance in place, I think it will be easy for us to have a data democratization that we view as a vision.
I think to add on to Nikhil, right? Two things we need to take note. One is the data governance, and we need to explain the concept of data governance to non-technical employees. Yeah, because eventually they're gonna be a self-serve kind of model, right? So they need to understand what data governance is, and the data classifications, and what can or cannot be you can or cannot do with the data. And secondly, with the democratization, right, duplication of data is one of the challenges, because everyone has data. You can duplicate it into multiple application systems, departments. Everyone can have a copy of data. So these are the two challenges the companies practicing the data democratization, right, are facing at this moment. And it is not it is not something that is cannot be solved. It's more of like what Nikhil say, right, to educate the people, the staff, the employees, who actually, or if the development team, to how to use or self-serve with the data.
I
Yep.
also want to add on a quick one. I think although there's no regulations around what we are talking about right now, but I think there are many best practices that are practiced, in on a global level. So I'm not so worried about misusage of data, or duplication of data. In fact, I think the access level and how the data is being distributed plays a very big part. It's not is you know data democratization does not mean that it's a buffet. Everybody can just go and take whatever they want, right? There's still access. There's still data governance, and again, in order to make this work, the additional layer of security, for example, using the blockchain technology, or using maybe a distributed technology on top of the data sets would actually help. So no one single point of authority can hold all kinds of data. So I think it's a very long conversation, that we
Yeah.
that we can have. And again, I just want to bring out that the best practices that are adopted around the world are actually fairly okay, man, in my opinion. Especially for those companies that are big and with very big data sets. I think they have a very good best practice governance and compliance model. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Thanks, Andy, Nikhil, and Bernard for these inputs. Yep. I think it's very fruitful on the democratization part, and I think it's the arena that we start to have best practices, but there's still a long way to go. So I think we should be watching out this space ongoingly as well, right? On top of multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, right? Blockchain. How do we bring in containerization? How do we rethink of analytics, right, to cater more in-depth, right, and relevant experience, right, to the product or services we are offering, right? Maybe with high efficiency, right, with faster touch point uh, and speed as well. Right. So, just want to say thank you very much for sharing, right, in this 50 minutes, Bernard, Nikhil, and Andy. Appreciate.
Thanks.
Now, going into the Q&A, right? We received one Q&A from Heikel. Sorry if I pronounced wrongly. Yeah, but the question is this: for FI institutions, right? Regulators may require local cloud only. Does that mean hosts like AWS, Azure have to open a data center in every country?
I can take this up.
Yep.
So basically, this concept is about data sovereignty. So data sovereignty, it says that every country has its own regulation for their own data as part of PDP and GDPR, right? So I think I would say yes. As of today, cloud provider have their own availability zone and regions available in the local country, and for to follow the regulations of the local country, definitely that's the way to go.
Yep. To add on, right? This is not a issue because with major cloud players like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, right? They already know what the country regulation is, in-country regulation. So they have already solutions for you to adopt cloud for specific countries. We know that in ASEAN there are certain countries where data cannot be parked or stored outside the countries. Again, your OSP, your cloud service provider already know these regulations, and they already have solutions for that because they are also talking to the regulators. So to me, this is not an issue. And once a new regulations or changes to the regulations, the cloud service provider are the first one to react.
Right. I think it's well covered. Yep. Thanks for that and Nikhil.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other question? Yep. In 3, 2, 1. If not, and yep. Thank you very much for all the delegates for joining, Beat for organizing this, and yep, again our panelists, right, for sharing your thoughts, your experience on how do we look forward into 2022 and the future around cloud analytics, democratization. Yep. Passing back to Beat, please.
Thank you very much for a highly informative panel discussion on cloud data architecture and, of course, a whole lot more, which was discussed during the discussion. Thanks, Bernard, for joining us once again. Nikhil and Andy, of course, Etra, for moderating the session as well. We're glad to have had all of you present at the event today, and, of course, definitely look forward to future collaborations and perhaps having you more in our future events. So thanks, everybody.
Right. Thank
and
you.
To the rest of the
Thank
audience,
you.
so this does, thank you. So the rest of the audience, this does conclude the Global Cloud Native and Open Source Summit of 2022. So for sure, delegates have learned so many things over the past 2 days. It has been a pleasure to have all of you attend this event here today. And we do have plenty more events that are upcoming. So we'll
Mm.
Sorry, my apologies on that. So as I mentioned, we do have plenty more events upcoming. So do join us. We'll definitely be keeping you updated on those. And one of those I'm talking about is the second Global Next Generation Software Engineering Conference. And alongside that, we do have the CyberSec Asia webinar series as well that are ongoing. So do join us for the next episode, which is actually taking place on July 28th. So do feel free to reach out to me for more details. Do feel free to reach out to anybody else from the SCOM team as well. And I forgot to mention as well, would you like to ask any other questions, any speakers who had spoken today in the panel discussion and the solo sessions, do feel free to, of course, to message them as well and reach out to them. And you may also connect them through LinkedIn. Few things to share before I do close this session. So the platform will remain open for a while longer. So you may take this time to visit the booths of all the companies involved in this event. So they do have plenty of offers and giveaways, as I have been mentioning throughout. That's located in their booths. And as I mentioned, you can definitely check them out and speak to some of their experts that are there in the booth as well. If you had missed any of the sessions earlier today, you may watch the replays of all the sessions as well. And I do invite you all, including the speakers, to join the Slack community for updates. And of course, to keep in touch with one another. And there in the Slack community as well, you can find the links of all the recordings of the past sessions that took place today. So you may join the link in the chat box. Anne did post it a while ago, so you may join it on there. You may join it as well through the receptions page of this platform. With that, I hope you all had a great attendance at our event, and definitely keep in touch for our future events. So I hope you all have a great morning, evening, night, wherever you may be joining from, and we'll be seeing you very soon. Thanks and goodbye.